Today we're looking at the SLAB and the benefits of using it as a quick screen. So the SLAB is an acronym I came up with, just short for single leg alternating bridge. And it's just, it sounds like it's a one-legged bridge. However, I think it's extremely useful when looking at clients or athletes' lower extremity function and stability. So let's go over how to do it, and as well as what to look for. And a quick side note is this easily can be utilized as an exercise by adding repetitions to it and really getting a little bit more strength and endurance into the movement. So as I go down into it, if you haven't checked out the two-legged bridge video that I posted, go ahead and check that out, because that's going to this exercise is going to require the same activation in the beginning that I went over in that video. So that will help you out as far as to realize and understand what's going on with the leg that's on the ground. So as we start the exercise, you always want to make sure and set that rib cage by taking a nice exhale, getting rib cage down. So what you'll do is we're going to lift one leg up. We're going to make sure as the patient, the client or athlete comes up, that they're not utilizing this swing leg for momentum. We are going to want it to stay exactly the same position as when you start, and it's just going to follow the hip. So as we go up, rib cage is down, we are going to be able to assess sagittal, frontal, and transverse plane. So as I go up, this is what it should theoretically look like: a maximal extended hip position, a rib cage that's down, a pelvis that is level, not deviated, or not in an anterior or posterior pelvic tilt. So let's break down what to look for. As the client or athlete goes up, if they start lifting and then they continue lifting through their lumbar spine, we know that they are much more active in that lumbar spine and probably more inhibited at the hip. So we already start to know from there the sagittal plane stability is going to be compromised, as well as they're probably going to have an overlying central tendency to use the low back versus the hip. So sagittal plane, we're looking to see, does that rib cage come up, or does that pelvis tilt anteriorly or posteriorly? A frontal plane deviation, as they come up, we'll start to see a lateral sway to left, to right, or right. So as they come up, or this could also be seen as more of a diagonal range of motion compared to going straight up. So at that point, we can assume that they're probably having some frontal plane instability and weakness, and that's something that we need to address. Lastly, the transverse plane, which is obviously going to be the hardest plane to attain. What you'll notice as they come up is they'll typically tend to drop that pelvis down. It's going to rotate toward the contralateral side. It may rotate forward, but typically it's because of gravity, it's going to rotate back. What that would look like is as they come up, they're going to start to deviate. So obviously the pelvis is rotated, my foot is rotated, and I can't achieve that max hip extension. So that's something that we'd want to address to improve the stability of the transverse plane. And all these compensations are probably going to come together. We always want to make sure we have sagittal first, then frontal, and then transverse. But I'm definitely making these a little more notable and obvious. But someone may come up and they may arch a little, they may laterally deviate a little, and they may rotate toward that contralateral side a little bit. So look for those couple things. Last thing that I briefly touched on is you want to make sure they're getting max hip extension. A lot of people can hold their correct pelvis and rib cage position, but not at that max hip extension. Make sure people are really extending through their hip and feeling the proper musculature.